Hi, my name is Jude Abaga, and I am an under 40 CEO.
The African Renaissance. The concept that the African people and nation shall overcome the current challenges confronting the continent and achieve cultural, scientific, and economic renewal is here, with young men and women taking the lead. Some call them the new school heroes. We call them under 40 CEOs.
You rappers should fix up your life. Fix up your life.
Jude Abaga, better known by stage name M.I Abaga, is a Nigerian hip-hop recording artist and record producer. Growing up listening to global music veterans like Lauryn Hill, Bob Marley, Sarah Maclachlan, Pablo Neruda, Jay-Z, and DMX helped in shaping the musician's career. He would later go on to gather critical acclaim by winning the Best Hip-Hop and Best New Act at the 2009 MTV Africa Music Awards and was nominated in the Best International Act category at the BET Awards in 2010. He rose to prominence in 2006 when his song Crowd Mentality became popular in his hometown of Jos. His critically acclaimed debut studio album, Talk About It, was released on the 11th of December 2008. The LP was succeeded by MI2 in 2010. 4 years after that, he released his third studio album titled The Chairman. Jude Abaga is the CEO at Chocolate City Music. All right, welcome to Under 40 CEOs, Jude.
Thank you so much, sir. I'm honored to be here, and I'm excited, man. I'm ready to answer any questions you have.
All right, let's go then. You were born in 1981
Yes.
In Jos Plateau to Pastor and Mrs. Abaga.
Yeah.
Please do give me a peek into what your childhood looked like.
Jos was so peaceful. One of my musical heroes, Panam Pressy Paul, at the time was a young guy, going from church to church performing. And I used to live not too far from our church in a place called Lamingo. You just football every day, go, would have fun, relax. It was peaceful up until I was in my teens. I would be able to walk anywhere in the city without fear of things like armed robbers, or those were things for Lagosians, But Jos was just a place where you could walk freely across places where there's like bushes. You walk through and you're not afraid. Maybe you're a little worried about snakes, but never of human harm. And so that's sort of the backdrop for how I grew up. Of course, a lot of that has changed now.
Okay, so you grew up in Jos,
Yeah.
and then there's Jude, there's Jesse, there's Jason.
Yes.
The
three J's.
Yeah, the three J's.
Yeah.
I mean, your parents did a good job, playing with the J's and all. We do know about Jude. We know what Jesse is up to, but what career path did Jason choose?
Well, Jason and his wife are writers. Actually, they write for a few Nigerian dramas, soaps. I think they write for Tinsel. They write for. But if you're flipping through TV, you're on Africa Magic or whatever, you look at the writers' credits, you either see Jason or Jessica Abaga there.
Wow.
They have they're more quiet than the two older siblings, but they're doing very well for themselves.
Okay. All right, good. So you attended the Baptist High School and then subsequently went to Michigan,
Yes.
where you attended the Calvin College as well. You went in to study business and economics.
Yes,
Why?
exactly. Well, so I did. Actually went there to study engineering. Living in Nigeria, you think that those are the big things. I want to be an engineer. After the first few classes, I quickly reconsidered, and then I started doing economics and business. I was a business major. Something about just how my brain, functions, and I guess the theories of economics, provide balance for me. I'm a Libra, so balance is important, and I really enjoyed it. I also, towards the end of my time there, I also started getting very interested in philosophy. I had a professor who was just amazing and who just opened my mind to, logic and thought.
It's on record that whilst you were at Calvin College, that your impressive rap flows and attitude gained you a third place position in this show called the Hip Opera.
Yeah.
I think that was in 2003.
Yeah,
That was a big deal then,
yeah.
right?
I mean, I trace this back to even Baptist High School in Jos, right? Every time that every Sunday that they would allow me to give a special number, I was there rapping and performing. And at a young age, I think it's important for parents and schools to provide the structure within people can explore their talents, because you never know. So I luckily ended up becoming a musician, and so you can draw that parallel, you can draw that line diagonally from when I was a child. But for most people, I know you yourself, you love music, you know, a lot of your
Very
friends,
much so.
exactly, a lot of your friends that aren't even in music anymore today were also schooled and trained by music, you know, trained by, let's say, hip hop, trained by, you know, creativity. And creativity, when it's fostered in you, it will spill into whatever you're doing. So even if you're a marketing exec or you're working in the oil business or wherever you are, people will be able to tell that this is somebody that can always come up with ideas and approach things like that. So it's very important for parents and for institutions, especially early on, to focus on things that will spur creativity in children.
This is Under 40 CEOs.
With a rumored net worth of $3.9 million, this music industry legend has remained focused on his music business as an artist and built an enviable career in the process. So, Jude, you've been described as a proficient producer, lyricist, songwriter, and instrumentalist. Now, a lot of people know M.I, the lyricist.
Yeah.
They know the songwriter, but not a lot of people are familiar with the producer and the instrumentalist.
Yeah.
So do you want to just throw some light on some work that you've produced in the past, and also what instruments do you play?
I'll start with the last question, which is about the instruments. I play a little bit of bass guitar. I play drums. I play keyboards. I can also find my way around the guitar. I'm not very good, but I can find my way around. In terms of production, so both of my albums, the first two, in fact, the third one is Rendezvous that I didn't really do a lot on, but you think Talk About It, MI2, Illegal Music 1, Illegal Music 2, Illegal Music 3, these 5 projects were completely produced by me.
Wow.
I would take maybe a beat from somebody else and add something, but I think in all those 5 projects, I used maybe like a combined 4 beats from other people. Everything else I made. So I made African Rapper Number 1, I made One Naira, I made Short Black Boy, I made Anoti, I made all these songs. I didn't like people to know that at the time. And it was also a way of us introducing Jesse as a producer to people.
Okay.
So there are a few awards that Jesse's won for work that he didn't produce at the time.
Wow.
And we would laugh about it. When he was winning the awards, he'd be like, yeah, I want to thank my brother. And he'd laugh. But yeah, I mean, I encourage everyone that no matter what you're doing in the music business, it's important for you to always work on your skills. Unfortunately, because I've been in the studio for a long time now, my keyboarding skills have diminished. But who knows? Maybe one of these years I'll take some time and do some classes again to brush up.
So you got back in, I think, 2003, and up until now, you've still kept what we consider relevant. What are those major highlights that you'd like to just put out there from your career so far?
Personal highlights to me, I think winning my first Headies Awards was a big moment for me because it just changed so much. So you think about the line, it's M.I, it's Jesse, it's Ice Prince, this Chocolate City line, and that award was like a huge milestone for us because it validated all this work that had been happening in Jos, in Abuja with Chocolate City. Then when I won 2 awards at the Mamas in 2009, I think it was, in Kenya, that was also a big moment. Now it's continental scale. I didn't win 2010 the BT Award, but getting nominated and going to the States, because I had left the States in 2003, to come back to Nigeria. And when I was returning back for the first time, 2010, here I was, a BT Award nominee. I remember having a conversation with the immigrations person, and it was just, I was leaving there with my mind blown, like, wow, how things can change. Since then, I think a lot of the other career highlights will be me looking at other people, seeing what Ice Prince has accomplished, seeing what Jesse has accomplished, seeing Nosa, Victoria Kimani, Coker, Dice, and having whatever little role I have to play in that, I think those are some of the highlights for me.
Okay, amazing. So in 2013, you were announced as ambassador for Glow Mobile.
Yeah.
And you've taken on, more ambassadorial roles, including being ambassador for Martel
Yes.
In Nigeria. Now, what goes into making these deals happen?
It's a good question. You're asking a couple of good questions. I think that you have to have intent with your brand. I think at the time we're pushing the chairman name and the chairman brand a lot. I think brands are interested in a few things, but they want to work with other brands that they feel are reliable. They want to work with brands that have a clear sense of self or brand identity. So you know who you are. You're not trying to be everything to everyone. I think that also having a track record of competence, of showing up and delivering, also plays a huge role. I've been very lucky again in that regard in my career. Very, very lucky. And the brands I've worked with, I know I'm no longer with Glow, but we had a great 5-year, run there. With Martel, I think this may be going into my 5th year also. It's just a privilege, complete privilege to be able to, interface and work with these brands.
Right. So you talked about BET taking you international, and I also remember in 2012 you were appointed Goodwill Ambassador by the United Nations. Please do share the details of this appointment.
Yeah, that was again another huge honor, but it was a heavy responsibility. I was working with the United Nations Office on Drug and Crime, and the brief was on the smuggling of migrants. So at the time, it was both Joca Silva and I. I mean, just to be mentioned in the same sentence as her, but it was both of us, and she was working on human trafficking, I was working on smuggling of migrants, and I came to, learn so much about, the dark underbelly of Nigeria, where people are told, hey, we're going to get you to Europe, and they're sort of smuggled through this channel that goes, all the way either to Morocco or to Algeria or Libya, and terrible things are happening to Nigerians. Terrible things are happening to Black Africans, throughout this. People are dying. And I got to hear stories. I got to meet people that had returned, girls that I met a lady who was, I think 14, 15 years old, and she'd been there for 4 years and had been raped every day, while she was there. Wow. I mean, people have lived a whole lifetime of horror, in a short life. It really humbled me and let me see that, the bigger picture about fixing Nigeria is very important, because while we're focused on the big things, so much is happening in the background that we're not aware of.
You've been described, however, as successful. What does success mean to you?
Success is definitely not a destination. It is, I think, it is the ability that one can afford themselves to, at the point where you are at any stage in your life, where you are healthy and you have whatever tools you need to be able to grow and do the next thing. I think that phase is called success, because successful people never stop, and it's all about having whatever the tools they need to be able to go to the next level, And so I think that journey and that place, where you're able to grow, that's success.
This is Under 40 CEOs.
Success is definitely not a destination, are the words from Jude Abaga that rings true. Today, he is not just a producer, lyricist, and instrumentalist. He is a business mogul and chief executive at one of Africa's largest record labels. All right, so you've been Chief Executive Officer at Chocolate City Music since 2015. What's your mandate as CEO?
This is a tough one. I mean, I remember that when I got the job, I was happy the day was announced. The next morning, I woke up with sweat. In the music business, people don't really talk about the job of a CEO. So they talk about what is known as a label president, who's the face of the label, the face of the brand. Doesn't really have to interface with the structure or the P&L or those things. To be a CEO is something else. To be a CEO is to to set the vision, to set the corporate culture, to organize the teams, to oversee whatever sort of reporting systems, to make sure that your hiring, processes or your, operations are functioning well. It's a different bag of responsibilities than even what I expected. But it has been the opportunity of my lifetime to learn and grow. And one of the most fulfilling things I've done, and I hope to continue doing. Hopefully they don't fire me anytime soon. But it's also been very humbling work, because every record label will have a bubble within which everything will go well. And then after that, then you start to have to do the hard work of, solidifying a brand. And in that case, I'm very proud of the work we've done. One of the greatest things for me is that today now, when I talk about artists that are on Chocolate City, people don't even know that they're on Chocolate City. And it's exciting to me because it means that as a label, we're starting to become driven more by systems than by, the energy of, let's call it youthful exuberance of a label, which is we're all a family, we're all a team. Those things are good, but they don't last forever. And the processes need to work,
Okay, so after your appointment as CEO, what moves did you immediately make to just register that a new era has begun?
I think the fans saw that my first call was to Ice Prince. And I said, Ice Prince, I can't do this without you. You need to Ice Prince was the VP of music for a year. My next call was to Jesse. I said, Jesse, look, I'm taking over. I think you need to come back. And we need to. And then we worked on something called the TICBN project. It sort of launched Kokar's career, introduced Dice. That went well. Internally, unfortunately, I had to let a few people go. I had to restructure the team. I started now doing a lot of a deep dive into how things were actually run, at a structural level and making changes there. But it took me about a year to then completely come up with my own structure and organogram of how I wanted to work.
So what's the current organizational structure like?
We have 4 departments that are key, pivotal to our business. Of course, you have your admin function. We also have our music function. So I call it music. This consists of both the labels and the A&R. But that's where the music is made. It's how the artists get signed. Then you have your promotions team. The promo team are the guys that make sure the music is distributed and that, it's on air and in media. And then business development. So those 4 are, we also have a media team under something we call community. And it's interesting from time to time to see what role publishing and cataloging will play. And so we're sort of in those conversations also. We have a few guys that are in that space, but they're not as as pivotal to the business as the 4. Those are the pillars of our business.
All right. So in your role as CEO, what keeps you up at night?
Everything keeps me up at night. It could be a phone call from an artist that's not happy, or is happy. Or is excited. It could be a call from one of my label presidents who's telling me, they need funding for this, or we need to figure this out. It could be talking with a sponsor. It could be figuring out, any bunch of things. In fact, you have to force time in your schedule to just relax. So I'll maybe sometimes go to the beach with my friends and just kick back. But I have to force the time in. Some days I'll wake up and I'll go back to bed. Because it's something I'm passionate about, you can easily burn out, Over the last weekend, I was extremely stressed and extremely tired out because, I was so busy.
So I'm guessing you have 2 separate contracts with Chocolate City Music. One as an artist and one as a CEO.
Yes.
3
contracts, actually.
3?
Yes.
Oh, what's the 3rd?
So my ownership stake in the business.
Oh, okay, beautiful. So have you ever experienced any conflict in your roles as an artist and a CEO?
I guess the conflict that everyone would immediately see is, scheduling. Just what takes preeminence? Do I spend more time in the studio or more time in the office? And unfortunately, the office wins now, In terms of conflicts at a contractual level or a structural level, dealing with operations, my manager my personal manager is also the head of business development. And so we realized that we have to then take a backseat when there's an operational clash. So if it ever comes out, we will always step back, so that the rest of the team can make that decision, but they're rare. I think it's actually been a plus that I'm an artist and I'm also, running the business. In terms of for the business, it's been, I have access to, a lot of resources and people. And also when I talk to artists, they know where I'm coming from. Then it's not some guy that, some office guy, some suit that's talking to them. It's someone that's been through the journey, somebody that can direct them, someone that can say, hey, this is where you should be going,